It is 7:31. I will call this meeting to order. January 18th, 2022, West Liberty City Council meeting. The roll call present are Jose Zacarias, Dominguez, myself, Katie McCullough, Karen McFerren, Omar Martinez, and Diane Beranek. Do we have, as we'll move to the approval of the agenda? Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
Okay. All those, any discussion? All those who approve the agenda?
Aye.
Yes. Okay, the agenda passes. So we'll move on to number 3 on the mayoral appointment, 3A, the West Liberty Fire Chief. My recommendation, let's have a discussion about this. We did have a session where we were unable to talk about with our legal counsel about what we want to do moving forward or what's best for the city and for all involved parties. So I'm opening this discussion amongst the council members. What they want to do.
I'd like to make a motion to table 3A until we can finish up our work session with our council, which we ran out of time for today.
Second.
Okay. Do we have a vote, correct?
Do we have a time for arguments?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I both know the previous time, as we always know, and I would like to know why the subject is in this agenda today, the same shape or form. What changed?
So I approved this being on the agenda, but I wasn't the one who asked to have it on the agenda. So if there's people who want to speak.
I asked to have it on the agenda after discussion with one of the volunteers. And then because I thought we were going to get through everything tonight, but we didn't. So we still have some things to discuss before I think we can all make a good decision.
Thank you.
Other discussion?
May I make a comment?
Yes.
I thought,
Real quick.
okay,
Mr. Christensen, before you
yes,
start.
I'm Assistant Chief Tom Christensen. I talked with Jose and I talked with Karen and Diane and explained to them some things that were, I think, I don't want to say misrepresentative, but just some points of interest of miscommunications. And I just want all to know that the chief is very upset. He has talked about quitting. I think that, and I expressed this when this all started, it'll be a domino effect if he leaves. We don't want to see him leave, but it will be a domino effect. And I think you'll see a lot of people on the department that would resign, and the city would and community would be in a very, very bad place if that happens. I've been on the department the longest of everybody, about 38 years now. And I got on to serve our city like Kurt did. And Kurt's a really good leader. I want to add that. All the department voted him on as per our bylaws. He's a leader both at fire scenes, at the station. I understand there's some, what do I want to call it, administrative stuff that I think we could straighten out, and we'd be happy to do with some guidance from the city, what they want. And just keep that in consideration, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion points?
One of the sticky issues in the past has been failure from behalf of the fire department to recognize the fire department as a department of the city. Somehow it transpired to me that And some people believe they are independent, that they do as they please. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not the case. We provide insurance, we provide unemployment insurance, we provide training, we provide the money.
So does the rural.
Yes, I know. And I try to make contact with Mr. Brown. He refuses to go into any mediation efforts.
No, I did not.
Okay, no, folks, we're not having a back and forth. I will get rid of comments if we have a back and forth in this. There will be respect. There will not be hurled accusations. There will be none of this, or we will stop talking about this. And I will ask members of the public to leave.
As far as
So
I'm
when will
concerned,
this
I'm
come up?
respecting you.
When will you have another work session? And when can we expect there to be a determination?
That's something that we'd like to set
We have to set a
this meeting. I don't want any of this back and forth, because it escalates quickly. And I understand that. I very much understand. I know the emotions, I know the hearts, I know what is going on, but this is, nope. So, thank you. Go on, but just be very careful with the back and forth.
Is there time for more public comments?
If yes, please, as long as it is civil and respectful.
Okay. My name's Larry Miller. I am a retired firefighter. And I can pretty much agree with Doug. Jose says that they're a part of the city. That's true. But they also are different from the city, where every other city employee is there from 8 to 5, 8 to 6. These people are volunteering to do their job with the least they can expect, a little bit of respect and a little bit of, agreeing with what the fire department does. They should have the right to pick their chief. Jose said something about in the paper, tell me if it's wrong, but in the paper, he had issues about the last couple of years of leadership. Well, he must not recall the derecho that we had, and Kurt Sickles let our fire department out for like 6 or 7 hours. That's leadership. Also had a pandemic that no one has ever had before. And we had to go on hundreds of calls that people were positive. We did have not one member contract COVID because of his leadership once again. So don't give me this crap about leadership.
Enough.
Thank you for your time.
Mayor, may I answer?
Yes, thank you.
I made contact with Mr. Sickles in the last probably 10 days. And I reiterate, Chief, my utmost respect for what he does. One. Second, I say to him, you can remain chief of the fire department for as long as the people are behind you. But we need to sit down to talk about the other issues, not the leadership that you guys have mentioned, the administrative part, the fact that he is the head of the one of the departments and we need to treat him the way we treat every other head of the department. He has responsibilities to show up at our meetings and tell us the details of the functioning of the fire department.
Can I ask Jose a question?
Excuse me, let me
Okay.
finish this thought.
And then if
He mentioned the surgery, and I, from the bottom of my heart, I say, I wish you the best. And he's not here to tell you that that's exactly the way. So it's no lack of respect. Hello.
My question would be, is the council doesn't believe the fire department has the right to pick their own chief?
That's
None of us ever
totally
said that.
untrue.
Well, you decided not to vote what we voted for, what they voted for, excuse me.
There's the way I look at it, and Tom and I talked about it quite a bit. There's two sides to it. There's the side that you as volunteers all see for his leadership, and we're not discounting that side of things. What he does out on a fire call or in any of our disasters that we've had, we're not discounting any of that. What we're saying is from our side of things, where we sit and what we ask for, we're not getting all the information. So there, from our standpoint, and I guess I'll say my standpoint, because I don't know how the rest of them feel. There's a leadership and an accountability that we're not seeing, that we've asked for, but that we're not seeing all the information.
Do you have an example of the information you're not receiving, Diane?
There's reports.
Such as,
I have a report that Kurt gave to me and also let the mayor see. It's his evaluation that Ms. Hanson gave him,
That never got put in his file.
and it should have. And he,
No, it shouldn't have. She didn't follow, and I'll just clarify that. She did not
Finish.
follow the city's policies and procedures when she did that.
okay, Diane, let's let Dana finish.
and that's information that we newbies need to know too, Dan, because from the chiefs who I just spoke to about this, he was under the impression that the pages and pages of comments that he wrote after each reprimand was given to the city council and the mayor at the time, so they could see his responses, because there was lots and lots of things in there that was not true. And Kurt took a long time to prove that. And if you all did not see that and then are still making decisions based on his inability to do administrative things, then it's not so much as your fault either, because you don't know what you don't know, right? But it needs to be cleared up. Yes, that's all I have to say about that. Because, you know, when I was campaigning, I went and I have my fiance's on the fire department too, but I went and I listened and I saw emails and I saw the effort of the fire department to really try to do what's right, to really try to ask for that feedback. What information, what are we not compliant about? And also not getting communication back. And so it is a communication breakdown is what it is. It should have never gotten this far. But I do believe that there is information, if we could just sit down with the officers and the council, you know, to try to hash out that and see what we don't know.
And we'd be willing, I mean, I know that we have not gotten a breakdown of what is expected, what reports, you know.
What administrative functions?
Yeah.
Followed.
Yeah.
We don't know. We can't.
I mean, if we
can't
have a
fix it.
list of that, I'm sure that us will do it.
And this has been a question we've repeatedly asked and not had answered. So we're just as frustrated. We want things to move forward too.
I'd like to ask Clerk Geertz and City Manager Haugland if, in fact, you did not reach out to the department or the leadership of the department to communicate with them or bring them into what needed to be done, or the oversee of the budget or any of the administrative duties.
I have emails that I have provided communication to Chief Sickles, and we have several email communications going back and forth. And that's, I mean, all I can answer to. Most of, over the last years, all of our communications have been done through email.
Have you guys met and sat down and tried to?
Well, in 2018, I met with Chief Sickles, and that was when I newly was interim as a clerk taking on the budget. So we sat down, we went over the budget, and then we did again in 2019. I sat down with Chief Sickles and with Doc at the fire station, and we went through the budget, we went through the line items, and we talked about, again, from the supervisor perspective of, you know, where they want to have items outlined.
But you did not teach us how you actually wanted.
So I guess I don't understand.
Well, I remember you saying, just move this here, move that there. Oh, you guys are doing fine. The budget looks great. And then the next year we got, well, you guys have been over budget for 5 years.
So,
And I'm just saying that you have not gone through list by list, line by line, how to do it.
so you're urging on a performance discussion?
That's
And
what
I'm
I
not-
was just going to
and I'm
say.
not-
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
so I
mean,
think, I mean, it's one thing to request.
it's just
so much
something that we need to communicate about.
I would agree. And that line, we can, if that's cool, we can stop that line right now. As it does border on that.
Okay.
Thank you. What else? So we've had a motion to table and it's been seconded. Is this a roll call or a consent vote, please? Roll call. Okay. Council members, Zacarias.
I go behind the motion. Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is passed. We will table the agenda until we have, or table that item on the agenda for the next meeting, February 1st. Thank you for the date. And let's move forward to approval of the consent agenda to approve the regular council meeting minutes for January 4th, 2022. Is there any discussion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Who's the second?
I didn't hear a second, no.
Second.
Thank you. Right, and consent vote on this one, yes, so I'll in favor, thank you.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, approval of the consent agenda is approved. We will move on to item 5 on the agenda, the mayoral proclamation. This is January 23rd through 29th, 2022, a school choice week in West Liberty. Is there any discussion?
But that means,
I'm sorry,
what's the meaning of that?
would you like me to read that? The proclamation? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I don't see one.
Well, I apologize, I'm gonna bring it
Yeah.
up for you.
I know it was in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
thought
in
it
your
was.
packets, yeah.
It was online.
Yeah.
Or,
Is it just on a place in our?
it's right here. with the brown. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's towards the back.
Yeah, it's just not in order.
Thank you.
It's a regular practice with previous mayors to read the proclamation.
Mhm.
So-
Yes, and that, thank you, and that's what I'd like to do.
Thanks.
I'm just finding it in my packet. No, well, yeah, maybe.
It's right
Oh,
up-
I found it.
Right after.
Sorry, folks, thank you. I was working on something else prior to this and didn't have my thing. So the West Liberty School Choice Week, whereas all children in West Liberty should have access to the highest quality education possible. And whereas West Liberty recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in West Liberty to be successful adults. And whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of West Liberty. And whereas West Liberty is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas West Liberty has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Catherine McCullough, do hereby recognize January 23rd through 29th, 2022 as West Liberty School Choice Week. And I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Motion.
Second.
Consent vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion for the mayoral proclamation is passed 5-0.
Madam Mayor, we will publish that online and in the social media.
Great, thank you.
Does the school do anything special for this? Do we
It's
know?
through the Board of Education, so I will follow up.
We'll follow the school and find out for sure.
Just curious.
So we will move on to item 6 on the agenda, the vendor voucher claims. We do need to amend what's in the agenda now. Remove line item number 17 for $238. And the new amount will be $508,229.85 is the new amount. Is there discussion?
Do you need a motion?
I need a
to
motion
approve-
to amend.
To amend the vendor vouchers.
Thank you. Consent vote, all in favor of amending?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the amendment passes 5-0.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to thank Councilmember McFerren. She had reviewed that and she had asked a question on that earlier with us. And so after further review, we found out that it was a non-existent item. So thank you, Councilmember McFerren, for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just had questions on 17 and 24 because I was confused on what the line item 24 was in regards, 24, that's right, 24, and then 17, because domain directory is basically just a redundancy of our website.
And the 24 was, it's at the department, it was submitted from the fire department
Okay, so
for 24.
okay, so $652.51.
Yes,
Is from the fire department,
yes.
and that's out of their the general budget fund?
That's out of the fire
budget.
department's general budget.
So,
For revenue expenditure, I can't even talk tonight.
so it's
It's
just
a,
market for food and beverages.
it's, there's several invoices.
It covered, I believe, 2 months, October, November, I believe.
Okay. That's all I have.
They feed the volunteers during their meetings.
Without water.
I had a question. Just curious, and I think I saw this in the last one, but I wasn't sure. Item number 60, their electric wholesale purchase, is that? What is it? What is that?
That's probably the power that's purchased that we put out to our residents.
And that's why I see it every
It
time.
comes through a pool,
Okay.
and what happens is, the pool purchases power, which then we purchase through the pool to supply, since we don't generate all of ours.
Okay.
We generate only when we're asked to.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah, you'll see that on a regular basis.
Okay,
And just to further, the reason why it's on a prepaid is there's a resolution set by council. And it's a recognized item as a prepaid item because we have a time frame that it has to go.
thank you.
A recurring vendor, yeah.
So I make a motion for the vendor vouchers amended claims list.
You're-
And I have
it's Diane
Diane
second.
Beranek.
Oh, I mean,
To
for the
approve.
amendment, to approve the amended, oh.
You did already.
Yeah, but I thought we had to have I thought we had to approve the amendment and then we had to approve the actual.
You can
And-
call for the motion with the amended
Oh,
amount
okay.
in it,
Okay,
as long as you clarify the balance of the claims in the item of the amendment, in which I have
Okay.
removed the 238 of the new amended balance of 508,229.85.
So that has passed to approve this 5-0 with a consent vote. Okay, unless there's any other comments. Then we'll move forward. We'll move forward to the public comments and or correspondence. Before we start this, I have something I'd like to read, if that's okay with everybody. Order, civility, and respect will rule this portion of the meeting, as I hope they do all of the meetings. I will not recognize or tolerate name calling, nasty expressions, threatening body language, whether intentional or unintentional, innuendo, gossip, foul language, or distorted or inaccurate presentation of facts. And I've said this before, I will say this again, if this happens during this part of this meeting, that person will be asked to leave. So before we open public comments, I wanted to reiterate that to everybody. And this is the time that's set aside for comments for public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. And no action may be taken. So if there are people who'd like to open up the public comments, I'm going to ask everybody to keep their comments to no more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, hi,
Please, thank you. And state your name and address. Thank you.
Mindy Sickle-Sturbins, 1440 Ridgeview Avenue. I'm a member of the Volunteer Fire Department and Secretary Treasurer for the department. So I have a lot of knowledge of a lot of the financial information that is shared with the department. And I just want to address the council to say that I really hope that you reconsider your support of the fire chief. He is an elected candidate for chief. We all support him. We all stand behind him. And I would be very disappointed to see that something happened to our fire department. And I can see that happening if he's not supported. So thank you for listening to my comments and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? From Zoom, is there anybody on Zoom who'd like to comment either via the chat function or you can unmute and speak up? I'm seeing nobody on Zoom expressing any interest on commenting. Okay.
And no comments on.
Okay. Thank you. Was that a radio? That was the weirdest noise.
It's just coming on and not.
All right, so then we will move on to the next part of the agenda, old business. Item A.
Sorry.
Oh, no, please.
I did receive some public comments.
Oh, okay, please.
Yeah,
I'm so
email.
sorry about that.
Okay. I just received one from Vanessa Espinosa in regards to sidewalk
Mhm.
maintenance and our ordinance. So I did want to share the fact that she reached out and spoke about the clearing of the sidewalks. And the fact that in the quadrant she was concerned about, there was very little cleared in her area. So I believe I forwarded it on to the city clerk and city manager. Thank you. And just was checking to see if there was any follow-up on that.
I think staff did follow up,
Okay.
and I know Councilwoman Dominguez reached out as well. And I'm not to the point that I want to talk about it, but I've had a program in a couple other communities, and I've had an initial conversation with an individual. We're going to have another conversation with someone else within that organization in hopes of looking for ways to potentially help those folks that are unable to take care of their properties during those times. So I've had a good first meeting. I'm just waiting for that second one, and hopefully we can share something here shortly for something positive on that.
Thank you. Thanks.
There are other council members who have something they'd like to share. Or
No, I got the same one that Sarah got and responded and added a few of my own to it that hadn't been done. So.
And we took those as well, Councilman, and put those to the list of items.
Right, is there any other things? One more time, I'm gonna talk to listen to myself speak. I wanna thank everybody for that and for your comments, and I appreciate that it was calm this time around, and so that's awesome. Let's move forward. So we'll move on to old business, if that's okay. Item 8A, discussion and appropriate follow-up to file and receive the 2022-2023 City of West Liberty Strategic Planning and Goal Setting Report.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I do like the fact that we had placed that line item on large format and we had hung it in duffel chambers at one time. Is that something that we can do again as well? Okay.
We will get together and create a poster of that information like we did before.
Any other comments? Okay, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of receiving and filing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion to receive and file passes 5-0.
Madam Mayor, we will file that online on our website and we'll make sure we have a link on our social media to direct folks to the website so they can see the information.
Thank you.
And I don't know, not just the City of West Liberty page, but all of the library, all of our departments, if they have pages, those need to be on there as well.
You make sure coordinate with the communications with your boss and make sure that you have a link to it.
Perfect.
And I think one thing that should be mentioned, even though the report lists the old council members that are no longer on the board, all of the new members as well as the new mayor participated, and you were the folks that actually voted on this. So these votes are reflective of the current council and mayor.
Thank you for the distinction. And I encourage folks to check that out and reach out and be engaged with it. Okay.
Vote.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thanks. We did vote to consent to file and receive. Yep. So we could vote again, but discussion and appropriate follow-up with the West Liberty Volunteer Fire Department tabled on 1/4/2022. So that was tabled, and then we've talked about it again tonight. Is there any discussion to approve it, or any discussion on this?
We need to set
I'm cute.
another meeting.
Session, you just tabled it on your last meeting, so we
So we
got
need
it
to-
back on this one, and so.
Unless you table until a certain date. If you just table, it comes back to the next meeting automatically, unless you do indefinite, or you say that we want it in 30 days or whatever it is.
So we have, a
It's a
discussion.
procedural thing.
So I would propose we try to put it on February 1st agenda and try to do what we need to do in the interim between now and then.
Do you think we need to have another session with Jamie though?
That's what I'm hoping we can do in the interim.
Okay.
So
Madam Mayor, you're calling for a motion?
I am calling for a motion to table
table.
that.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion?
To the February.
Just
so
February
we have
1st. We have a vote, consent vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes to table. Motion to table passes 5-0. This will be the fun part, folks. Discussion and appropriate follow-up mayoral committee appointments for city council committees. So I've received all of your notes. And there are a few that I'd like to open the discussion about at this point. But I will read the ones that look like there's no fighting, not fighting, but like extra people on them, because as we know, we can only have 2. So for buildings, grounds, streets, and alleys, that'll be Diane Beranek and Karen McFerren. For employment policies and grievances, that'll be Jose Zacarias and Karen McFerren. For electric, water, sewer, utility, and solid, that'll be Diane Beranek and Jose Zacarias. For the Muscatine Joint Communications Common Emergency Management Agency, that'll be Omar Martinez. And Mayor Pro Tem will be Dana Dominguez. And And I think the emergency 911 board will be Omar Martinez. And then, so the ones we have open, or the ones, we'll do ones that we have open. Sidewalks and cemetery, nobody said they wanted to do that one. I'm sure
That's part of buildings and grounds and.
that's under, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Okay, so we're good there.
Yeah.
I was like, why do we need a separate one? But you know,
That's building
with
grounds,
this.
streets, alleys, sidewalks, cemetery is all one.
okay, perfect. So Diane and Kara's got that. Perfect. And this board, under electric, water, sewer, utility and sound as well. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Perfect. Thank you. So we have 3 people who were interested in being on the ambulance and public safety board. We have Jose Zacarias, Omar Martinez, and Daniel Dominguez. So I didn't know if I wanted to open up the comments, if anybody wanted, any of those 3 wanted to say, why they wanted to be on it, or are willing to say, no, that's okay, I don't have to be on it, I just open the discussion.
I'm just really passionate about any type of first responder, public service, safety. My father was a cop for so long here in West Liberty. And I grew up here as, somebody who admired seeing the fire trucks and hung out at the city hall with my dad who was on duty and things like that. So that's just a passion area of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I also was a member of the Presidential Reimagining Campus Safety Committee, which was led by the Vice President of Student Life at the University of Iowa. And we were able to, myself and about 20 other folks across the entire campus who had different specialties and areas, were able to come together with the UI Police Department and create a new structure for public safety on our campus that took almost over a year to do. And so I think I would just really be a benefit to that area.
Thank you. Thank you. Omar, did you want to say why? Or
Well, I think I have to challenge myself in new opportunities. I think it would be something great since not just because I'm on the department, but I like to work in both ways, as for the city and the fire department. And I think a lot of people stand behind me in my drive and everything that I do. And obviously, I want to learn more about what goes on in between both entities and make things more clear for everybody.
I don't know, Jose, did you go?
I would love to remind you, please, public safety committee.
Okay. I'd like to think about your responses. Do I have to make these appointments tonight? If not, I'd like to follow up with you all via email. And let you know for ambulance and public safety board. And I will let you know what Monday, which would be the 20, what is Monday? 24th. The 24th. I will let you know by close of business on Monday for the ambulance and safety board. Thank you. And then
You'll still need to bring that back on February 1st
to be approved. Mhm.
So does she need a motion?
So do we table all of them, or can we approve?
Well, I think if you can get some clarification on some of the others, if somebody steps back, I think you can approve
The
the
ones we
ones
can approve.
that you can approve, and those that you are going to take a little more time. I think you can approve those on February
Okay,
1st.
great, thank you. So I will get to that after we talk about the finance and ordinance committee. We have Councilman Zacarias and Councilwoman McFerren and Councilman Martinez, who have all expressed interest on being on the finance and ordinance. I didn't know if anybody wanted to speak about that, or if it's just, I want to do it because I've been doing it. That's cool too. Just for the discussion.
I've just had experience being on the board, so I just wanted to continue.
Okay. Okay, for this one, Omar, I'm going to ask that Jose and Kara be on this board or on this committee. You've got plenty to do too. So finance and ordinance will be Jose Zacarias and Kara McFerren. The ones at the bottom on this page, the county assessor board, and all, these are ones that have been decided or have somebody, is that correct? Clerk, or these are things,
You would appoint.
we need to appoint for
And
these as
these
well,
ones, we typically only appoint one.
one person, okay, so,
Well, the
And I
mayor,
think the assessor, on the assessor is the mayor.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
And then, I honestly don't. Councilmember Beranek, do you know, is the radio user group, is that to do with, I don't know if that has to do with emergency service, or is that public radio? I'm not.
I think it's emergency services, because I thought whoever was on the joint was also on that in the past.
Yeah. I think it's looped in with mustard.
Okay, well then, Omar, we do serve on the Muscatine Radio User Group?
Yeah.
Okay, and the Parks and Rec Board, you had requested that, is that serve on that one as well?
Good, I hope he reminds you.
We'll get on. For We Lead, is that something I can ask my, if there's somebody else who
The
wants to
city
do it?
manager
Is one, and then you have a council member.
A council member, so a non-mayor council member, or,
I don't know, I guess I don't know which rules were for that. If that can serve as well.
if I can serve, I'd like to.
Yeah, I think the mayor has done it in the past.
Yes, and then the library board has already been decided, is that correct? It was by the former mayor. We had
No, this would be a council liaison person.
a
to the
council
library board.
liaison, okay. Dana, would you mind? Okay, so I'm gonna go through the ones that we have approved, and we'll vote to approve these as we move forward. Just as a reminder, buildings, grounds, streets, alleys, Diane Beranek and Karen McFerren. The emergency 911 board, Omar Martinez. I only have one person. Do we need a second person on there? If we don't want to, or
I think it's one.
Just
one is
one.
fine. Okay, thank you. Employment policies and grievances will be Jose Zacarias and Karen McFerren. Electric, water, sewer, utility and sound will be Diane Beranek and Jose Zacarias. Finance and ordinance will be Jose Zacarias and Karen McFerren. Mayor Pro Tem will be Dana Dominguez. Muscatine Joint Communications, Comm and Emergency Management Agency will be Omar Martinez. Muscatine County Assessor Boards will be myself, Catherine McCullough. Muscatine Radio User Group will be Omar Martinez. Parks and Rec Board will be Omar Martinez. We Lead will be myself, Catherine McCullough. And Library Board will be Dana Dominguez. Can I get a motion
Wait.
to?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking at my old list. The radio user group has been least cheap in the past. It's year round.
I think I'm already in it.
No.
I've already had a few meetings, if that's the same group I'm thinking of. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
participating.
By my previous list, it was the police chief, not a council member.
Not a council member?
And I'll continue that if you like.
Okay, that would be great. So
Okay.
Omar, you're off the hook. Okay, so is there a motion to approve these committees?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, a consent vote, all in favor of approving these committees?
Aye.
All opposed? All of the city council committees and appointments by mayor are approved with the exception of the ambulance and public safety board. And we will, do I need a motion to table that till the next or?
No, I'm just gonna, a motion in a second, with consideration of ambulance and safety.
Great, thank you. Right. So the next item on the old business is the discussion and appropriate follow-up of ambulance agreement and setting up a special meeting if further action is needed. So this is in relation to the 28E agreement that is expiring at the end of this month with the ambulance and the rural trustees. So I'm opening this up to discussion to see what you folks would like to do.
Based on some previous information, I would suggest that we extend it for 180 days, which puts it to, I don't know when. I don't know what 180 days are.
End of July.
End of July. That's my motion, to
Okay.
extend it 180
To
days.
extend, okay.
I
Second,
second the motion.
okay, and this will be a roll call vote? Or is there more discussion?
Is it roll call or?
It's consent vote, okay. So, all who agree, were for, extending the 28-year agreement 180 days.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so, we can, we will extend the passes 5-0 to extend the 28-year agreement 180 days from today.
Thank you.
The city.
That'd be great.
I always try and be respectful of your time and cost, so unless there's something else for me, I'm.
No, get out
I
of
can
here.
leave.
So
I'll get out of your hair.
Well,
No, that's okay. Is there somebody else?
don't we want to set a meeting with you between now and our
Yeah.
next one?
Do you want to do that in session, or do you want to have these guys just tell me when to be here?
Oh, okay.
Second part.
I didn't know your schedule. I thought maybe you'd want to be in on the discussion.
Well, I don't tend to have a lot of work in the evening, so when you
And I'm
have
sure
your,
it's your favorite kid.
when you have your late afternoon and evening meetings, I can usually accommodate most schedules, so I'll get with whatever works for you guys. If you want to do another work session before your next meeting or
Okay,
before that, we'll find time that works.
all righty. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
So we'll move on to new business. Agenda item 9A, discussion and appropriate follow-up for the West Liberty Economic Development Grant submitted by Casey Bell for the Dutton project. So I'd like to open this discussion.
Ken, do you want to say a few words? I mean, Ken Brooks is here. Ken is the lead director, and he worked with Casey Bell to prepare this request.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council members. First of all, congratulations on your self-appointment to the Wheatley Board. Excited to have you, and I will add you to our letterhead tomorrow morning, so you'll be on there. I have a very exciting project to bring to your attention this evening and a request for help. Casey Bell and I have been working on an amazing indoor sports project that she would like to put in as part of Dutton Park. So if you think about where that parking lot is right now, if you think about the big empty green space to the east of the parking lot, she would like to lease that land from the city. And I know the city attorney is working.
Actually, just a quick update. We had sent a proposed lease to Casey Bell. She has reviewed that with her attorney, and she and I are meeting tomorrow to talk about some of the changes that she'd like to see in that lease, which I told her everything is open for discussion in the initial lease.
So we don't have any concerns about that portion of it yet, but it is a very important portion of the project, because once we get that settled, the next portion involves spending $335,000 on building a beautiful complex right there. Casey Bell is looking at spending about $385,000 in total on this project, including some equipment. So some of the highlights of this project include the big one right here, indoor batting cages, physical training equipment, and other sports-related equipment. So while this is going to be open to the entire community for use, she's definitely kind of focusing on the youth of our community. That's what this is targeted for. This is a really big deal, not just for our community as far as our kids and our families taking advantage of this, but this is going to be a draw because nobody around has any facility like this. So we're going to be attracting all sorts of people to West Liberty, not just for this, but then of course they're going to go and they're going to eat lunch downtown, and the benefits just keep on rolling in. So here's my request while we're finishing up the lease agreement. We're sorting through all of that. You should have in front of you our application for the city development grant. She is applying for the maximum of $25,000. We leads worked with her in this, and we respectfully request that you grant that application. Happy to answer any questions you might have of me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How is this going to compete with the new facilities that the school is building?
Sure. So a lot of that information isn't public yet, but I don't understand there to be any indoor batting facilities, which is kind of the shining part of this project.
Okay, gotcha.
I guess my next question is, are we really going to focus on softball and baseball? Or are we trying to focus on all those sports all the time?
So the batting cages obviously are focusing on the softball and baseball. Casey has training in the physical therapy and the sports therapy, so she wants to go down that route. So she's pursuing that with the other equipment she's bringing in.
So would she provide like physical therapy and stuff like that within this facility as a profit?
So think more sports training and less physical therapy.
Okay. But she would charge people for sports therapy.
Yes, she would be charging for her services, just like there would be a fee to come and use the batting cages.
Okay.
Maybe a little more clarification for you. So the proposal is it's a private owned business. Okay.
Thank you.
And they're just looking to for the opportunity for placement on the Dutton complex area. And that's where the discussion of the lease agreement comes in, by leasing land.
Originally, they had been talking about selling a piece of that park, which would have been taking the piece out of the city's property. And in some discussions with the city attorney and staff, we felt it was better to have the lease so the city still controls the ground, but we do allow her to lease that space. There will be, as part of that lease, I've talked to Casey about this, is the building will be taxed, and that little piece of ground will be taxed as part of because it'll be a commercial business, and that'll be part of her rent and be paid through her lease to the city, because we'll have to pay the taxes on it.
So if Casey decides, okay, this is not for me, or I'm gonna go do something else, we'll still own the building and the land.
Well,
That would be tricky.
that's being worked out in part of that lease agreement as to what happens. There are some opportunities, I think, and I think she's looking at this. We're looking at a 5-year lease with 4 or 5 year extensions. If they decide to sell that, I think the city is going to have some. We'll have an option, or can look to make sure that they approve of who's coming. We're going to protect the city, but also try to give Casey, a good lease that benefits her as well. So we want it to be a win-win for both sides. Right? But this is really something that should help our youth in doing some year-round training on some things. There are a lot of kids anymore that, even those that just play recreational, but you got a lot of those that play competitive, and that's going to assist those kids as well.
Yeah, we used to have batting cages in the old high school gym. You weren't here, but where the middle school is now, there were actually indoor batting cages, and they took those out when they remodeled everything to make it the middle school. But
Mr. Ken, would be any consideration from the property owner to make these facilities accessible to a discount price to people who cannot afford it?
Yes, that's a conversation I've had with her specifically. And to be frank, she brought it up, right? So she wanted to know if there were grants available that might pay for some of that programming opportunity. So we Lead will be actively working, and even if she doesn't get grants to fund it, she is very much a person of this community and wants to give back.
Thank you.
But just as a reminder, the application in front of you is for the existing grant program that council has already funded through this year. So this isn't new money.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
So the motion passes 5-0 to approve the application for the grant. Okay, great. We will move on to new business item B, discussion and appropriate follow-up to change of city hall hours of operation from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Any discussion necessary?
I just wanted to quickly, a memo by myself in a meeting with our staff is to have additional hours. We had been closing at 4, but again, we found that it might be beneficial to those who have to commute in and out of town for their for their hours if we can maintain until 5. The other part of it is that because we have a minimal staff, there's just not a lot of additional processing time. So part of the proposal is that the front office staff would work 4 10s. And so that would allow them an additional hour to process work at the end of the day. And then only 2 people would then be alternating on Monday and Friday. And I think I explained it out in there, what the schedules would look like with the rest of the staff. Again, this would be managed under myself as a city clerk and oversight with the city manager. But I think the most important thing is the processing time to allow accuracy and to minimize some stress when we're trying to serve customers and then trying to process a lot of this work. And so again, this is an opportunity for us to take a look at that and see, what we can do so we can be focused on providing customer service the way it should be provided. And then knowing that they're going to be allowed to have that catch up, that processing time after. And then likewise availability from other sides of it with the utility clerk to be available to process requests early in the morning to get it over to our utility department. The utility department their day ends at 3:30. So, that becomes from a utility perspective, then there's not much that they can do, from that point on with if there's any service or anything like that, because they're already processing a lot of that work during the day. So that's just, the thoughts.
And then
Yes.
you're talking about closing from 11 until noon.
Yes.
Is there any discussion about rotating staff to serve that time period?
So we had looked at that and we really have taken a practice run from closing from 11 to 12. They get a half-hour lunch and then that gives them an additional 30 minutes to process. But we don't have, so for example, Sherry or myself, we don't have the availability to cover that front office area. And again, even with the other one, with Faith, then she's also limited for frontline coverage. So again, it's been working. If it's a situation where we have a customer, we've communicated if they need to make an appointment or arrangement, then we'll provide a staff member to go over, setting up a utility, handling a transaction that needs to be done during that time frame. We've tried to manage, we've taken in the data of how many people we're actually serving during that time. And it's very minimal as to what we're doing. The only time that we may consider changing that, and this is just further, discussion with our staff, is when it's bill pay day, because it is a very busy day. We have talked about maybe changing and making sure that, it's only a half hour, but at the same time, we're back to that same problem where the processing time and processing all of that work and the accuracy of it and making sure we're not stressing out staff. So we're providing that, the expectation is customer service because we're providing you that additional time to process. And I don't know if council, I know that there are some other businesses in town that do close during the lunch hour, but at the same time, it's council's decision as to how you want to see the operations.
So what would your staff's hours be? 7 to 5? You said 4 10-hour days?
So 2 staff members, and I put in the memo, there would be 2 staff members. They're the frontline staff. And so identify those in your memo. And they would alternate. One would have a Monday off and one would have a Friday off. This would also minimize, out of the office, because when we're down a staff member, we're down 2 staff members, that it becomes a little tricky. And so, so with that said, that was the reason why we were looking at that alternative. So that would allow them to schedule appointments and things on their day off that wouldn't take away from the other hours. I'm not saying that we still wouldn't run into a potential issue where, we have more than a few out. But again, we have contingencies in place if we have more than 50% of this out, what we need to do, so.
I have a question on the second line, existing, is that a typo? I think?
It's a typo, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just didn't know what
It was
280.
Clearly, I was stuck on 89, wasn't I?
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the new hours of operation for City Hall.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we'll put this to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes 5-0 to change the hours to 8 to 5.
And thank you, and Madam Mayor and Council, I would just, again, recommend that if you have any input from the community, during, the new hours, if you have anything that you hear from the community, just please share that with us, because again, I mean, the whole idea is how can we better serve, our utility customers, our community members, and that is our priority there, so. But we also want to keep our staff members sane during the whole thing time. So.
But if you haven't been by City Hall, we've got new signage up on the doors, pointing to the drop box. There's a sign on the back of the building where the drop box is. So we're starting to see a lot of people use that drop box there. So we just want to continue to do that. And I know Jake put that out as well. So.
Great. All right, so then we will move on to reports. From the city engineer, I believe is joining.
Yep, yes, I am. Thank you. Engineering's been working on the Rainbow and Maxon Ave design, the final design part of that project that was approved last month. We're moving forward. Things are going well. We have a couple of options that we've been looking at on the south side for some alternative south side sidewalks. And we've run a couple of those by the city manager as well as some of the adjoining landowners. And we'll next week, our next council, we can come and give you a more update with some numbers and a couple of more drawings. So that's all I have on Rainbow and Maxon. And then well number 2, I did talk to Northway about their brushing and televising, and they basically say that West Liberty is the next project they do, but they want to wait for a little bit of a break in the weather. They're concerned with having the opening in the roof at the electrical building for too long, with as bad as the weather could be next week or so. So I think they told me that they'd like to have it above 20 degrees for 5 days. So that's what they're looking at.
March, yeah.
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
Maybe March. March.
February or March is probably right.
Anything else from the city engineer?
Thank you.
City staff minutes.
Just if anybody has any questions on those minutes, I'd be happy to try to answer those for you. There that you need more info on, please don't hesitate to ask.
Are there any motions?
I have, you call them Beranek, wherever they're at. They're anymore. They're in the US now, deciding to have them store. This is the same thing that happened with our first set that been in the winter and we couldn't set them. One company where we ordered them for us. That's what we're now. We're gonna try to store them here, right, or keep them for us. They are in the US. That's progress.
We get.
I don't. Did. Where's?
Okay. But I will was sharing of I think now
Yeah.
has been working with, provided assist us with those, and as indicated, a further discussion with Nick and with Barians, or if we sent them some, you know, we want to make sure that the surface that's not going with back to unit. It their discussion is looking ahead, having memorials by Michael come back and follow up to
Any other comments? Thank you, Day. Second. All right, all opposed? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.